This year we have the honor of having 3 declamation finalists who will speak to the class of 2021. Our first speaker is Ms. Ashley Gong.
Hi everyone. I first want to say that I'm so grateful that graduation can be in person, even if it is just a symbolic ceremony. Regaining a bit of normalcy after so much craziness this year is very refreshing. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to stand up here and say a bit of what is on my mind. Since I am at least slightly less clueless than I was 3 years ago, I'd like to share one of the most important things I've learned here at DS. As a solidly type A person, the ideas of progress and accomplishment have always been on my mind, definitely more often than they should be. To visualize such ideas, I would view my progress on a mental chart. The y-axis was the level of achievement, whether it be academic, musical, or something intangible like happiness, lack of stress, or just appearing to have a life beyond doing homework and playing Yoko. I was not very successful at that last bit. The x-axis was time, and then I'd plot my points of progress, tracing a graph that hopefully always looked up, but in reality had many dips and plateaus, and these descents were incredibly demoralizing. As someone who built up for herself a fear of complacency, of settling as less than perfect or the best I could be at all times, the feeling of losing progress, not progressing, or even just not progressing as fast as before was so uncomfortable. I felt like a failure before I even failed. And then I took calculus, and man, that was a hard class. But along with learning that I, sadly, am no math genius, I somehow learned what integrals are, the area underneath a curve, an accumulation over time. And then, feeling super smart now that I knew what the skinny S symbol meant, I went back to my mental graph of progress. Instead of looking at how high my points of achievement were, or even the rate of change, what I've since learned is called the derivative, I integrated, and I noticed how the accumulation of area was always positive. Even in the longest plateaus and the lowest ruts, the area is growing, and so am I. Every point I deemed a failure or a deviation from perfection only meant that more progress would come in the future. Granted, the irrational fear of complacency wasn't going to disappear overnight, but this paradigm shift has helped me accept the natural ebbing and flowing of life without the pressure of immediate or constant success. So, what's the bottom line of my pretending to understand calculus? Perhaps a cliche, that perfection as a concept is overrated and unattainable. But here's my take. The word perfection comes from the Latin verb meaning to complete. And what human being is complete at our age? After all, the mere thought that high school would be the peak of life is, not going to lie, a little terrifying to me. Actually, I'm so thankful for how these 4 years have made me into a much more patient person. I no longer fear the wasting of potential because with every passing day, potential only grows with experience. Our lives are so much more than just a series of checkpoints. And as I finally stop talking, I hope all of you listening to me right now can take a moment to reflect on how far you have come and how much you have grown, even in the smallest or slowest pockets of life. Thank you to everyone who has helped me even begin to realize this lesson. And thank you all here today for humoring me in this very rudimentary and admittedly kind of nerdy attempt at self-actualization. If you remember anything from these 3 minutes, remember to integrate. Or better yet, just throw away that mental coordinate plane altogether. Thank you.